Call to order the Select Board meeting of February 24th. Please rise as we do salute the flag, and please remain standing thereafter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we offer a moment of silence for our service personnel, both here and abroad, and both past and present. All right, please have a seat. All members are here. There will be no roll call vote unless the chair declares so. The warrant has been signed and being passed around, and I guess it's signed. It's all set. And the meeting was recorded by DCTV, available live on their YouTube channel, and then anytime thereafter on their website. So let's rock and roll here. No appointments. So under new business, we have Golden Farms, map 37, lot 20, conservation restriction. Believe we have somebody here from Golden Farms, just, I don't know, but. Are you here for that, Mr. Attorney Savastano? No. Okay. All right, so we have a letter from the Conservation Commission saying they voted not to accept the parcel or the associated for the conservation restriction. So what do we do? What do we? Go ahead.
So with this conservation restriction, the select board, has a right, but we would need to decline to accept the conservation restriction on this property. So as part of the open space plan, the Conservation Commission declined the right to it. Now it's the select board essentially that has the ability to waive it.
To accept or reject that.
Okay. All right. So there's really two options. The town, the select board can either accept the restriction, or we can vote not to accept the restriction. Discussion?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, my only comment is, Mr. Garrett, there was no reference to why they did not accept it. Was it a water issue? It just basically says, right, please be advised, the Conservation Commission voted last evening not to accept the referenced open space parcel or the associated and required conservation restriction.
I mean, let me ask the question, is there any town-owned land that are surrounding
It's
this
on
area?
the map here.
Sir, just state your name and your affiliation, please.
My name is Teddy D'Souza with Continental Homes.
Okay.
Yeah, they pretty much decided there was no value for them to have it and to maintain it. Most of the property, the open space is wet and with buffer zone, so they weren't interested.
So pretty much nothing can happen in that area anyway?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
All right. And I'm looking at the map that's provided, and it looks like there is no, looks like it's just private property that surrounds the entire parcel.
Yeah.
So there'll be no connectivity.
No.
So, okay.
So is what's marked on the map the drainage parcel? Is that where you were looking for the conservation?
The whole back part, the bigger areas.
Right.
It stays open space.
This portion here.
Oh, okay, all of this.
Yeah.
So,
Right. It'd be the parcel that's next to the Scammell's Life Estate, the Newport Excavation, Kingfisher.
Oh, Kingfisher.
And Mr. Wilford. So it's that parcel there.
Scammell's, yeah.
So normally, if there was other areas in the town that were surrounding it, but since it appears that, and according to the gentleman here said, the land is going to be, is wet anyway, so it has its own natural restriction. Mr. O'Neill?
Mr. D'Souza, do you have the homeowners association set up currently?
We will have it.
Okay.
This is the steps we have to go through by planning board,
Yep.
the zoning bylaw. We have to offer it to conservation first,
Right.
and then to the select board. Then after that, if you deny, we offer it to 3 nonprofits, which are the DNRT in Dartmouth, Buzzards Bay Coalition, and the trustees of the reservation. Then if they accept, but if they deny, then the homeowners association will take care of it. Yep.
Right.
In my experience, Sean, that is the case when there are no abutters, well, with reference to the nonprofits. If they're not abutting, then the homeowners association
Right.
would just
Right.
place the restriction with
Yeah,
the planning
there's
board.
several of these in town that have open space, and, I think one basically has 3 open space parcels that divide both areas of the property, and I believe their taxes are just, it's less than $600
Yes, it's
between
minimal,
all 3
yeah.
parcels for
It's
the
minimal.
entire year, so it's a very minimal amount in the way, so. The only thing with this, with the HOA, the upkeep, they would have to, if it remains a private lane, then they have to have, plowing, and they would have, the only upkeep would be the drainage parcel, making sure that, it drains. So, right. And of course, if that's the case, then they have to have some basic insurance, so. But, all right, what's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion, Sean, to decline the acceptance of the open space. So,
Right?
right. So
Motion made
Mr.
by Mr. O'Neill to
D'Souza can go
decline
back.
the conservation restriction. Is there a second?
Mrs. Brooks?
Second by Mrs. Brooks. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor of declining the conservation restrictions, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None unanimous.
Thank you.
Another step in the,
Yep.
all done. Okay. All right. Next, we have the Mass School Building Authority, Dartmouth High School roof, windows statement of interest and vote. And we have the most esteemed James Kiley here.
Thank you. So you have been provided with the Mass School Building Authority Statement of Interest for the Dartmouth High School roof and windows for your consideration tonight. The Dartmouth High School roof and windows require replacement in order to ensure the long-term integrity of the building. We have had engineering work, study done on the roof, and it's determined to be failing in multiple ways. I can talk about that if you'd like in much more detail. If you vote to accept the statement of interest, the chair will be required to sign on behalf of the committee and acknowledge that the select board supports the submission of a statement of interest. The statement of interest itself is not a commitment to anything for the town. It is simply expressing our desire to have MSBA consider a project. In 2017, for an example, we did this for the middle school roof. They paid 53.32% of the project in that case, so a little more than half of the cost of the project. There's no guarantee with submission of the statement of interest that will be selected. The MSBA took last year off from approving repairs like this. So the hope, on the one hand, they didn't fund any last year, so they have all last year's funding and this year's funding. But on the other hand, nobody else did a roof last year. So there's going to be, more applicants, I'm sure. So the roof is a rubber EPDM roofing system, originally installed as the building was being constructed in the year 2000. So there's active leaks throughout the facility. It's in rough shape. The flashing's in rough shape. A lot of the components are in disrepair. Again, I can talk more specifics about that if you'd like, but the one thing I will say is if you elect to vote to support the statement of interest, the specific language that I provided needs to be incorporated, needs to be read and voted on and incorporated into the minutes. So.
Board members have any questions?
Comment?
Mr. Tattlebaum?
I'd also like to add that this, the long-term planning committee has a long-term plan, but also short-term absolute necessities, and this is incorporated in the schools plan and back to us, and I think Mr. Kiley brought it back to the schools, that this is we characterize this as a must-do short-term repair that has to take care of the integrity of the building. And then we're moving on to other mid and longer-term projects, but this is absolutely one that falls into that short-term need.
The longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. For sure.
Sean, my question is, when will MSBA make a decision?
The timing is probably going to be difficult for us. I don't expect that so the deadline to submit is in March, which doesn't give us a lot of time to react to that. In terms of our time before town meeting. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how quickly they'll turn around the list of accepted projects. I think that it's probably going to take them more than a month to do that. So that puts us really up against town meeting. I would imagine that it would have to be considered at a fall town meeting. And I don't know, this would be a really large roof project, so I'm not sure if they wouldn't do it in pieces where we have to get funding for design work first and then come back again at another town meeting for the actual construction. So if that all happens that way, we're talking a couple of years before it actually gets fixed. Possibly. So.
Any number on that?
It depends. It depends what the scope of it is. So the windows aren't in good shape. They're failing, and there's condensation between most of the windows in the building. I don't know if the windows will be part of the project. That's really going to be up to MSBA. The roof, for sure, and the flashing, it should be. If they elect to support something like we've done with the other roofs, where we've done a PVC roof, PVC is 30-plus years. It's a great roof.
The only way to go.
Much better than a rubber EPDM roof that is a 20-year roof. So hopefully they support that. If they do, though, it's going to be expensive, and it's going to be $6 million roof, of which we'll be responsible for half. So it depends on the scope in terms of the windows, what they want to include and not include, and we may have some decisions to make down the road when we come and ask for design money and ask for and agree to the scope of what they're interested in participating in.
Question? I take it that there is no language that town meeting accepts other than specifically being accepted and what the number is, and we can't do anything in preparation before that?
We can't. The MSBA advises that we not move without them. We've done, preliminary engineering work to determine the problem, and good thing we did, because they ask a lot of specifics in the statement of interest, as you've probably seen. But yeah, they recommend you not move forward without them.
I don't mean without them, but getting some kind of an approval without specific numbers, but anticipation of being approved. In other words, to get a jump on the 6 months between town meetings, is that impossible?
They require very specific vote language to be on the town meeting warrant. We could, I think unfortunately, we probably have to wait.
Okay, thank you. That's fishing.
These guys, they're very specific about the language
Yep.
that they want, so.
That's fishing.
Mr. Carrero?
Mr. Chairman, just, I think to add to Mr. Tattlebaum's point of, we've looked at this in capital for, I think, for the last 3-4 years since I've recall, and, you know, it's a large investment, but the school is a bigger investment. I mean, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar school. So I think that working with Mr. Kiley, and maybe as we go along in the capital projects, we can talk more about us getting this maybe accomplished, and us now being able to talk to MSBA, which I think was really, the holdup in the last couple of years, and I think COVID put a wrench in that also. So I think that it's a good project to move forward with, and hopefully the board can
So
recognize that.
if we have a motion, whoever makes the motion is going to have to read everything within the border.
I am prepared to do so.
Okay, good.
So I'll make a motion. Resolved, having convened in an open meeting on February 24th, 2025, prior to the SOI submission, Statement of Interest submission closing date, the Select Board of the Town of Dartmouth, in accordance with its charters, bylaws, and accordance, has voted to authorize the Superintendent of Schools to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the Statement of Interest form dated February 2025 for the Dartmouth High School, located at 555 Bakerville Road, Dartmouth, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs to the facility. The following are in the identified deficiencies as required by the described for priority 5. The fully adhered EPDM roof has reached the end of its serviceable life. Through-wall flashing have been determined to be compromised, leaving paths for water infiltration. Stone caps and bands on the above roofline walls are exhibiting signs of failure, allowing water infiltration. Thermal expansion and building sediment has led to cracking and damage to surrounding masonry as the control joints perimeter sealant at the windows is failing. Most windows are foggy and filled with condensation. Rooftop units, curbs are severely rusted. Ductwork and pan flashing without the rooftop units are sources of water infiltration. And hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commitments to the town of Dartmouth to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Nicholson. On the motion, any questions?
Could you repeat that, Mrs. Brooks? Well done.
Rewind the tape.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. And I understand there's also an electronic link, so you can have Mr. Galashaw send me a link to my town email.
I will do so, Mr. McDonald. Thank you all for your consideration. I'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Mr. Kiley, you want to get in the roofing business with me after you retire?
All right, next item on the agenda, we have the ballot questions. Mr. Carrero.
So, Mr. Chairman, we have the questions here for charter amendments, the omnibus correction, and also the number and members of the Historic Commission, Parks and Recreation Board elections, election to appointment of Dartmouth Housing Authority. The vote needs to be taken to approve this. Chris can.
Yeah, so as you recall, the last annual town meeting as well as the fall town meeting, we approved multiple amendments to the charter. Now this goes to the voters to vote at the annual town election in April. So the vote here this evening would be to place these questions on the ballot. So coming up at the next meeting in March, we'll have the annual town election warrant that the board will also vote to approve, and then we'll be on our way. One thing I will note about this is, in addition to this, there is also a mailer that we are required to send out to all registered voters with regards to these questions. So in addition to the vote here tonight, at our upcoming meeting, there will also be a consideration for reserve fund transfer, because the costs associated with doing a mailer to all registered voters, it's going to be a little chunk of change. So
Yes,
I just want to make you aware of that, but for the purposes of tonight, it would just be to vote to place these questions on the ballot.
We can get a better estimate on what that's going to cost. It's going to be postage, obviously, the printing of it, and then having Finance Committee do a reserve fund transfer, because it's something that it's unforeseen in the budget that we've had to do this, so.
What would this cost?
He's got to get it.
Right,
They gotta get
I'm
it.
sorry. When is it going to be mailed?
So it has to be mailed 2 weeks before the election. So, fortunately, we do have a meeting with the select board on the 10th. It's our plan to
Be right after
get the
that.
quotes ahead of the meeting.
Yeah.
We've also had the draft of the mailer that's going to go out just about completed. So
Yeah.
as soon as we get that approval, we're going to send it to the printers.
Yeah.
All right. Printing and postage, Mr. Mickelson, will probably be north of 20,000.
Yeah, I've done these many times.
Unfortunately, we had called the state on this issue to find out, did we really have to mail, all of this? And the state regs have not caught up with technology.
It would be nice if we
Because-
just do a QR code.
Right, because we said we could do a QR code, we could do a link, and they could read it on the
Right.
website, but unfortunately, the state said, no, it has to go out paper form for everyone to read.
When I sent mailers out like that, they were extraordinarily expensive. But I'm sure they're 3 times that now.
So we've worked on a way to try and limit the amount that the packet's going to be. So I think we're down to 9 pages, but if you think about, essentially the whole charter is in there, with the,
In fairy
It'll
font.
be $1
Yeah.
something to mail it, so.
Yeah, me.
so that just going to be on the horizon, but before you tonight is what is actually going to be on the ballot itself.
I have a question.
Mr. Tattelbaum?
Assuming there's interest from the DPW and this board, is it too late to consider the
Yes.
possibility of adding?
It is, it needs to be a town meeting vote to vote to
First.
put it on the ballot first, and the town meeting, it has to go to town meeting first.
No, I understand that. Can we add, if there's interest, the DPW member vote to this, to get it on this list?
No, because these items were voted on at town
This is
meeting to
basically
be
a
sent
cleanup.
forward.
This is a cleanup.
Separate.
So that would have to go to a town meeting.
It has to
And
go
then
in either
it would go-
June or October for next year's vote.
So, well, my understanding is even these will wait until April of 2026.
No, these are April 2025.
This one, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So the next time we could go, and it would be on an April 2026 ballot.
What you're talking about is
Would be
looking to
for fall.
increase, you're looking to increase the board from 3 to 5.
If there's interest, yes.
Right. That cannot happen until April of 2026.
I mean, the election.
Right.
But we can look at it at fall town meeting and still get it on
Oh,
for the
yeah,
election.
yeah, we
Okay.
can look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
All right.
You just can't put it on the ballot.
You can do it, yeah.
All right,
I make
so
a
on these ballot
motion.
questions, do I have a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept these 4, the wording of these 4 items to be placed on the April ballot, the April 1st ballot.
I would second that.
Motion made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by Mr. Mickelson. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Unanimous. Okay.
Thanks for the work on that, Mrs. Brooks.
Unanimous.
This is others at this point.
And others.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Public Works interviews. We have one candidate who dropped out, and that was Brian O'Hare. We do want to thank Mr. O'Hare for his interest. And we do have one person here.
You have two that dropped out.
We have two that dropped out.
Yes.
Okay,
As of earlier this morning, Stephen Allen also did a withdrawal.
Okay, so that takes care of that. So,
I
Mr.
think
O'Hare
we
and
will
Mr. Howland.
grill this candidate.
Mr. O'Hare, Mr. O'Howland, thank you for your interest. But I will tell you this, we will keep your names in the file, because if we do go to 5, we got two on tack already. So, we're going to have an interview. Okay, I mean, it's kind of rote, but, I mean, let's put it this way. Mr. Gagny, come on up here to the stand, please. Michael Gagny, as many of you know, former town administrator and basically City of New Bedford finance guru. Latest, I guess, episode now, he's doing other things. I'm assuming because you put your name in here, you want to be involved in the town that you live in and grew up in, which I'm kind of glad to see as a fellow classmate. So, briefly, Mr. Gagny, describe why you want to do this and what can you bring to the DPW that is needed besides the body?
Well, first of all, as I sat down and gathered some thoughts for this evening, I suddenly realized that I actually had been out of my position as town administrator for 16 years, and it was rather surprising that it had been that long. I served just shy of 30 years. Little background, I've been a resident of Dartmouth for 53 years and got my degree in administration from UMass Dartmouth in '79. And I came to work for the town of Dartmouth in environmental affairs work 18 months after I graduated. Spent 6 years in the environmental work, and then in 1986, I got the appointment as the executive secretary under the particular form of government they had then, which was a 3-member board of was a board of selectmen at that time. In the 1990s, they went for enabling legislation, and I got the appointment as the first executive administrator, town administrator, and served in that position until 2009. The events of 2009 are a story in itself, but I went on to work for the town of Mattapoisett as their town administrator for a period of 11 years. I think what I really want to talk a little bit about is why do I want to get on the Board of Public Works? I can tell you that during the tenure that I served as the administrator for Dartmouth, we had a very, very good team approach to some very difficult and intricate public works projects. The one that was the largest sewer project that Dartmouth ever had was the Lake Nokichoke, Reed Road, all of the area off of Sherbrooke, Lakeside Avenue, Route 6, all the way back to the hill where it intersects with Cross Road, where we actually put in a new main line. That was a huge project, and I really want to stress the team approach because we had individuals like Manny Branco, Dave Hickox, Wendy Henderson, Michael Riley, Donald Perry. We had every department that worked together along with federal and state agencies to get that project so it would be affordable for the residents and the businesses in that area. And I can tell you, because I actually saw some of my old notes from that particular period, it took us 32 meetings to get that particular project up, going, running, and shovel in the ground. The biggest public hearing that I have ever participated in was held when the high school was next door. And that whole project, there were people from every single seat was filled in that auditorium, and they were out. We spent the better part of 3 hours, but we had a team of representatives on stage of every single department, including legal, with the takings, and the project was a success. That was the start of other significant sewer projects that the team approached with. We did Solomar 1 and Solomar 2, which had a significant impact upon the cleanliness of Clark's Cove as our responsibility as a town community. We went on to do Bayview, West Smith Neck Road, Seabury Heights 1, Seabury Heights 2. And I think it had a lot to do with the cooperation that everybody put in. We did significant road projects. We did the Reed Road south of the interchange, somewhat difficult and controversial project, one of probably the first projects that Mass DPW was sent back completely to the drawing board to reconfigure it, because they originally configured a 2-lane road on Reed Road from the interstate down to Route 6 through that residential neighborhood. And I can hardly blame the people that they would not want that. We see today what the effects are of double-lane roads in parts of the town. The team worked on the Fons Corner reconstruction, south side of the interchange, north side of the interchange. Nothing to do with the Route 6 lights, thankfully. That was not in our particular tenure and period. The other one that I would like to mention is the Peyton Aaron Bridge project. Again, that project was a team effort, and an awful lot of credit goes to the likes of Manny Branco and his ability to put projects out and to convince federal and state entities to understand that this is financially too big a project. Working with Manny, we approached Representative James McGovern, who covered this district before Barney Frank did, and we got $1 million on that particular bill that year. But we suddenly realized $1 million wasn't going to do that bridge. And we went back and we worked with Representative Barney Frank under the redistricting. McGovern was no longer representing this area, and we got an additional $1 million. It's all part of a team effort. And I'm going to talk about a little bit more some of the recent stuff. Mattapoisett, we applied for an economic development assistance grant, and we did sewer, water, utilities, for Industrial Drive and a complete reconstruction of Industrial Drive. And the project is completed, and the state picked up 75% of the total project costs. So again, the same thing happened over there. Smaller community, but the Public Works Director, the planner, all of those people were involved. And if anything, I would like to see, when you do have a new town administrator, that in fact things become more of a team effort so that ideas are able to be matriculated into reality and that sources of funding can be obtained. You know, there are numerous projects and grants out there. I've had the opportunity, I see Rob Almey's here, I've had the opportunity to talk with Rob about a couple of projects that I saw that I knew that some grant funding was available for both design and for the construction. And I think if we work with the town administrator, your new town planner, working with conservation, we can do the same thing and start to get some of these things from going from simple thoughts to reality. So I'm quite excited. I worked a lot with the Board of Public Works here over the years. They've got some sizable issues ahead of them. I'm hoping that maybe some of my experience will be helpful with that, and I look forward to working and being on the board.
I think part of our effort here is to make sure that we try to give the boards that we appoint a wide perspective of views and experiences that can only enhance the board itself. knowing the current makeup of the board, Mr. Almy and Mr. LaBelle, I think personally, I think your experience as a administrator in town, of a town, and also your financial experience in the city of New Bedford can only work to our advantage on that board. And I think it will not only lend a wealth of experience to our existing members, but would also lend a tremendous amount of experience to staff. And I think we want to make sure that, we give staff whatever they need to make sure that they can do the job that they are hired to do and want to do. Because when they do their job, it only makes our lives a little bit better. So, and I think I think this is probably one of the appointments where I personally, I'm very happy and very pleased to make, that's for sure. I mean, we've known each other for,
A few years?
yeah, 55 years plus. And I just can't think of a better person to put on the board, because I know how you operate. I know how you think and how you go about analyzing. But ultimately, you do exactly what we hope to do, is what's best for the citizens of this town. And that's something that I can honestly say. I am very happy to have known you for that, that's for sure. Members?
Reading the resume that you sent in, having your statement of interest, I have absolutely no question that you're the right individual to join the board and move in the direction, because you certainly understand the scope of the work of the Board of Public Works.
Michael, you've always come across as a very pragmatic guy. After speaking with quite a few people, you come across as someone that people can talk to, and you do your homework and make educated decisions for the right reasons. So that I'm very happy about. Your recent private sector experience is really something that I keyed in on. So your work with the nonprofit in housing, you've been on the other side of the DPW issues now. So what you draw from that, I'm not sure, but it's been a little bit of a tough run for the staff over there, and that was one of the reasons that I was happy to work with David and some others about trying to get the board changed from 3 to 5. I think we've really hamstrung Rob and Ron LaBelle because they can't really communicate as well as they should be able to, sure. Given the fact that we're down to 3. So, that I think if we can get that change made sooner than later, I think that'll be very helpful to you and the rest of the board members. So it's I'm happy that you decided to throw your hat in. It's a tough one. Sure. It's a tough one. I appreciate you stepping up.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Mr. Tattelbaum?
Mr. Gagne, thanks for joining up. Having worked, I see Mr. Elmy's back there, he's hiding on. But knowing the trail ahead for us, the DPW, yeah. The projects that are necessary, I think it's welcome news. The two colleagues you'll be working with, we're incredibly lucky to have both, but we have a lot of projects not only to do, but to explain to the public what they're going to cost and what the advantages and disadvantages are and necessities. And it's going to be more important than ever that we tell the right story at the right time so people know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I look forward to it. I would also add that I was going to add that even the other two fellows that obviously we can't, at this point we can't, but I thought it might be a good idea that anticipation of possibly having a 5-member board, that we could even ask for 2 ex officio members. They could maybe non-voting, but get them into the loop, so hopefully as we go forward and it becomes acceptable, we then can have a legitimate 5-member board. But that may be for another day. But on the other hand, if people are interested, especially these 2 individuals, that they wanted to serve in some capacity that's non-voting but active in the process, so that we can build that concept of a 5-member board.
We would need to talk to town council about that,
Yep.
getting that, so.
Yep.
All right. Board's pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Michael Gagne to the Board of Public Works.
Is there a second? Motion made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None, unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, Michael.
So are we.
Anything from Mr. Almy?
All right. He's all set.
All set?
All right, next item on the agenda, we have the Housing Production Plan Stakeholder Committee Charge Approval. Mr. Carrero.
Before you, Mr. Chairman, you have the, in your packet, the charge of the Housing Production Plan Stakeholder Committee. The board has any questions and reviewed it.
Pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, just to add to Gary's comments, so if you recall, we are working with Serpent on our housing production plan update. It's a 5-year plan. They have started to do some initial research, but they want to start convening stakeholder meetings. So in discussion with them, they felt the best format would be to get representatives from the various boards involved so that we can meet as an open meeting. So certainly anyone else who wishes to attend could. But the charge that you have in front of you tried to pull from representatives of the applicable department. So if you have any suggested changes there, let me know. But as soon as we establish this committee, we'll reach out to the individual boards, and then from there, hopefully we can get a meeting on the books for this plan.
Okay.
So my question is, so you just mentioned the 5-year plan with Serped, but this committee charge expires June 30th, 2026.
Yeah, so the plan itself, it started getting developed last fall. We expect it's going to be done by the end of this calendar year. So this committee is only just helping advise
Okay.
on the development of the plan. So once the plan's complete, then this committee would dissolve.
Any other questions from the board? All right, board's pleasure,
You have to mention,
is that a motion?
no, first of all, would we need tonight to appoint a select board member to this committee?
We got to make the committee first before we do it. We can't have an appointment.
Motion to accept the
Okay.
stakeholder committee charge.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by
Mrs. Brooks.
Mrs. Brooks. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None unanimous.
We may have to put that on the agenda, though, Sean.
What's that?
We may have to put that.
Yep. And then next agenda, we'll have the appointment from here. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda, we have the ARPA grant agreement with Buzzards Bay Connect.
Connect
Mr.
to
Carrero?
Protect, yes. So the long-awaited agreement you have there in your packet was for, if you remember initially, we had had conversations with Buzzards Bay Coalition on the Connect to Protect program, and it was in some form of an agreement. We had town council look at that and worded it as a grant agreement. So he's vetted this, our council has vetted this, and the signature would allow us then to, as you know, complement the projects that they're looking at. We did put ARPA fund money into this also, if the board
Yep.
approves that.
Board members have any questions?
My only concern with it, Mr. Chairman, is the term material change. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Buzzards Bay Coalition hereby agrees to provide the town with written notice of any material change to the program before implementing the same. Any material change to the program that's implemented without such prior written notice to the town shall result in automatic termination of the agreement and no funding obligations. I didn't see I don't know. I don't know if that's a concern of yours or anyone else's, but I don't know what that would.
What number?
Paragraph?
Paragraph 4,
4, okay.
yeah.
So maybe we can,
Basically, they have to notify us if they're gonna do any kind of changes to the program. They gotta notify us, or else, if they do it without our knowledge, then we can pull the plug on the grant.
All right, so as long as,
We're protected.
we're, and DPW, I guess, would be the one that would decide whether it's a material change really for them. As long as they know that we can pull it if they
Right.
feel a material change has been made.
To Mr. O'Neill's point, that was one of the main concerns that town council had looked at, to make sure that there's no, there's no risk to the town in this program, so they vetted this pretty carefully. But you're correct, the board in conjunction with administration would be the ones that decide if something's a risk.
Is this been approved by the coalition?
Coalition, the Council for Coalition has looked at this.
They're okay with it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Board's pleasure.
Oh,
Yes, Mr. Almy.
Couple of things. I know my first comment's kind of out of order. I'm glad to see Mr. Yagney approved. I look forward to working with him. And sometimes you just sit quietly and let the right thing happen, which is what I did tonight. As to the agreement, let me give you an example of what I would view as a material change. Currently, it's clear that Buzzards Bay will be working with licensed installers. They go outside of that and they use someone who's not licensed by the town, that would be a material change because we've agreed to that. That's the kind of thing that Public Works is interested in, and we want to be careful of that. Otherwise, we strongly support this. The Public Works Board saw it at their last meeting. We think this is a great idea for a bunch of reasons, including it gives us a story to tell our friends at the state if they come into town asking what we're doing. Here's a good example. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
And I told you so. Board members, anything else? All right, board's pleasure.
motion to sign the agreement, the opera grant agreement ratification.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None unanimous. All right, here we go. Okay, we have a letter from Robert Smith, who's resigning from the Historical Commission. I need a motion to accept.
motion to accept.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none unanimous, and if we can generate a letter to Mr. Smith thanking him for his service, be greatly appreciated. Next, we have a letter from Christine LeBlanc, resigning from the Greater New Bedford Refuse District as one of our representatives.
I'd like not to accept this one. I know that's typically
This
not.
is actually a big loss. Christine is, she's very intelligent, and this is her.
It's been really a
basically-
key member.
Those are
Yeah, this is in her wheelhouse, but she's been a great addition to the town, on other things too over the years. So do I have a motion to accept her resignation?
Except with
Don't worry
sadness.
about it.
Okay.
Put a line through.
Mrs. Brooks, motion made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by
Second.
Neil.
Sorry.
On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none unanimous, and we also sent her a letter. All right, next we have the Warren Hathaway Small Boat Marina at the Dias Landing. So, Mr. Murphy.
Big doings down there. Big doings.
Good evening, everybody. Kevin Murphy with the Waterways Commission. At our last meeting, we made a recommendation to send a letter to the board that the new marina that's being built over at the Pontiac Landing, that I'm sure you're all aware of, it's coming along ahead of time and slightly under budget, so that's a good thing. The board thought, our commission thought that it would be appropriate to write a letter that I would like to read. I'm sure you folks have already read it, but if I could just take a moment to read it. On February 11th, the Waterways Commission unanimously voted to recommend to the Select Board to consider designating the new marina as the Warren G. Hathaway Small Boat Marina at the Dias Landing. Warren's contribution to the town are too many to name. His tenure and dedication to Dartmouth High School as a Dartmouth High School head coach for many years set that program in motion. His sailing knowledge, competitive inspiration, and sportsmanship shared with so many students will be remembered for their lifetime. Please consider our request as soon as possible, since much has to be done to prepare for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, which we hope to have in the near future. So that was voted on unanimously by our commission, and would like you to consider that motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Tattlebaum.
I was approached by Marcia Hathaway, Warren's widow, and she is thrilled at this opportunity. She realized the kind of honor it is, and she's so pleased that the Waterways Commission took the time to honor Warren in a way that will last forever, and she's looking forward to it, not only our approving it, but also the event that we can do it there. So I salute to the Waterways Commission for doing this. She's thrilled about it.
We try to get it right sometimes.
Mr. Hathaway was a dear old friend, and he was a legend for years and years and years. He gave it his all. You cannot have a better name for that small boat marina than Mr. Warren Hathaway. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful individual.
I think in keeping it at the Dias Landing certainly doesn't remove any credit to
it works
Arthur
hand in
Dias, so that both of them can be assigned to that area.
It's great.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Warren G. Hathaway Small Boat Marina naming of that area.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mrs. Brooks, seconded by Mr. O'Neill. I can only say this, since the Chronicle is no longer around, this is no
Things
better
have
way.
gone down.
This is no better way to honor Warren Hathaway than this, that's for sure. Because this, besides the Chronicle being his first love, we know sailing was his second, maybe even first. So
That was Masha.
So that's for sure. So on the motion,
There was
any
no
questions?
fake news in the Chronicle.
Any motion, on the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none unanimous. All right,
Can I ask a
Got
quick
it.
question?
Thank you.
Can I have a quick question?
Go ahead.
In the design, are we anticipate the idea of possibly putting benches in areas where people would want to sit, and therefore maybe some kind of an opportunity to do something with benches?
I think that we have a grant in place right now for kind of a redesign of that whole Pontiac Landing, which
That would be part of that
Parks
process.
and Recs and Waterways are kind of co-combined on that, and should we get that in motion, I'm sure that those problems will be addressed. So,
People will take advantage of that.
Thank you.
thank you.
I don't think
Thank you.
the docks give way for a bench to be on the docks, if
No,
that's
no,
what
I don't
you're-
mean that. I mean in other
Oh.
areas.
The area.
Okay. That would be and a safety hazard.
No, I'm talking about the landing
Oh,
and
okay,
viewing
thank
the
you.
bay. Maybe diving board, maybe?
Oh,
Okay. All right, next we have the town administrator status update. What we're going to do, I guess, we need to make a motion to, go ahead, Mr. Mickelson.
Yeah. I'd like to make that motion, probably what you're going to say. Make a motion to have the town go out on its own and advertise for that, for the town administrator job. And with that being said, we also have we have another means of advertising, isn't that correct? In our
So
RFP?
this is just to go have the town only do it?
No, to have the RFP also.
Oh, okay, all right,
Because we
thank
already
you.
own that RFP.
Well, right.
We can use
No,
it.
but
Right.
it sounded like the. it
No,
sounded-
no,
okay,
no,
I
I
get
want
it.
it, I want that to be included with
Okay,
it.
so you
we'll
wanna-
have, we'll go up with guns blazing to find somebody.
Okay. All right, so the motion is to authorize staff to submit the RFP for a firm to recruit, and also for the town to do its own advertising for the town administrator position. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
On the motion, is there questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, none unanimous. Okay. Done.
So
Get that
I
out.
have the floor again.
Okay, you have something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at this time, now that we're going to go out and look for a town administrator, I would like to appoint Gary Carrero as the interim town administrator until we find a legitimate candidate.
So no co-town administrators?
No co-town administrators.
So motion made by Mr. Mickelson to appoint Mr. Carrero as the single interim town administrator. Is there a second?
I would second that, but I think it's, I also would like to add that I think the initial purpose of having co was because it was going to be fairly temporary. And I think that it served its purpose as it is. And I think going forward, it's been a long time with two, and I think that would be best served with one going forward because we don't know how long this is going to take.
So did you second the motion
I
or
did.
not second the motion?
I did.
You did second the motion.
And with the reasoning for that, and I also at that point would salute what Chris Savali's done for us as a co, but I think that he can be even that much more functional in a well-defined job for him, and we would have a single point of reference. I also would add that I am concerned going forward. Well, I'll leave it at that for now.
Anybody else have any on the motion? This I'm going to do by roll call vote. All right. So on the motion, Mr. Tattlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
No.
Mrs. Brooks.
I feel that both gentlemen have done the town and this board a great service by taking the reins since last June already. And I feel that they have worked well together. I do understand the rationale going forward for a single individual. My reservation to that is while Chris Vitale would then be able to do the full scope of his current job as Assistant Town Administrator, what supports would the department that Gary currently runs require if Gary's taking over this role? So that's my conundrum. And I don't know. So I understand and support Gary, but I don't want his department to have any setbacks. So I don't know whether I'm a
The appropriate make a comment on that?
yes with an asterisk. I want to make sure he has support.
So your vote is on the motion?
I will vote yes.
And I'm voting no. I don't think it's the right time to change. But as this is. This has always been the vote of the board. So the vote is 3-2. Mr. Carrero is the interim town administrator. I know Mr. Vitale and his professionalism will do everything he possibly can to support Mr. Carrero on this. So, interim town administrator update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So I just want to keep this on the board's radar on Monday, May 26th, obviously at 9 a.m. The Dartmouth Veterans Service Office and the Veterans Advisory Board will be holding its annual Veterans Day Parade. Parade will step off at the bottom of the bridge and will conclude to the old police station. Also, I recently had my one-on-one sessions with the department heads to discuss the FY26 budget and their requests. It was an opportunity for the department heads to discuss their requests for the new fiscal year and any challenges that they may see coming up. I'm also currently meeting with CIPC to review the annual capital requests. Both Chris and I will then be compiling the draft warrant article shortly for the board's review. That's all I have.
All right. As part of
About the parade, the end of the parade will not be at the police station. The new ending will be at the cemetery, I believe.
right, but there will be
No, there will
something-
be only one ceremony.
Yeah.
It won't end there, just one ceremony.
As part of your review of the budget, I would like this board to see something from every department head on what their personnel needs are. Whether or not we're going to be able to do anything this year about it or not, but I would like to see what, best case scenario, what they feel their department needs. Board of Health, do we need another additional inspector? Building Department, do we need a couple of part-time inspectors? DPW, what do we need? Conservation, do we need another, do we need another inspector? Somebody from the assessor's office, do we need a clerk? I would like to see that from each department head. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the next 2 weeks, but at least I think us five up here need to see that, what is needed on our end. I mean, we see what the school department does by their removing and adding and whatnot. We don't do that here. Actually, we don't publish it here. We just, if we happen to know it, we know it, but we need to see it. So I'd like to see that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Carrero.
Oh, Mr. O'Neill.
on that one point, Sean, I think it's a good idea. Maybe even a couple of columns, one total employees current, and then positions open, because I note that some of the departments have there's a big difference between what is allocated for the prior year and what the budget is going forward in payroll. And that looks like it's a big jump for some reason, but it's actually not, because they're just basically positions that aren't filled. So if we could add that to the Excel, that'll at least give us an indication of how many positions we still have to fill, and would bring us to full budget.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can make a comment on that. Through the budget process, we addressed that on the one-on-ones that we had, which was really interesting, because one of the questions I do ask the departments are, how many positions do you need to be at full complement? I mean, we can go across the board, the police department, DPW, obviously, with 16 open positions. We do run a total of FTEs on all these departments to see what their complement is. And I can prepare that for the board so that you can look and see what's open.
Great.
But you'll be surprised that there are.
Could I add something to that?
I won't be surprised.
There are.
Could I add something to that?
Mr. Tattelbaum.
I would like that schedule, as we go through the budget process, that we, even if necessary, to set aside a separate night that we review the budget, that we include the full Finance Committee in front of us. If it means a separate meeting in between our regular meetings, I think it's high time that we take full advantage of whatever they have to say, all the research they've done, and we ought to honor their opinions and their research more than we've done in the past. And I don't know if we can do it in a regular session, because there usually isn't enough time, but maybe it's a separate meeting.
We usually meet with the DPW prior to town meeting anyway.
Finance Committee.
I'm sorry.
Right,
Yeah.
but we do that.
We usually have the joint meeting.
Those guys.
Nope, we're not a joint meeting. We haven't done that in years. We also haven't had enough time, because it's part of a regular meeting. I think now more than ever, it becomes a public discussion about what they're doing and the research they've done. and to tell us. And if we can combine that with this effort you're talking about, I think we'd have a real comprehensive discussion, and I would highly recommend we do it on a separate meeting as well.
Separate meeting.
And if any,
I think we can, I
would
think we can work around that.
I would concur, David. I think, going forward, the budgets are only going to get
Yep.
more difficult to deal with, so the more information, the better.
many of us have been on finance, we spent a lot of time, we got a lot of detail, and we should be able to take full advantage of that with Gary's direction, orchestrating that with us together so that we can really get some input. Thank you.
I'm going to jump on that also, Sean, because I think it's also important to know what positions are unfilled, but is that a necessary position? Because sometimes we have X description, but we really need a Y and not that X. So I think sometimes it's just, do we need to change the, and I know this is a little premature because I know we're still going through the compensation and classifications study. We're, going to be starting that, but this would give us a better idea of what is needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so your updates all set?
Yes.
Okay, old business, Bliss Corner,
No new updates.
Nokichoke,
No new updates.
broadband,
No new updates.
Title V, Mass
No.
DEP.
No new updates.
All right, there are no minutes. Select Board updates.
Before that, if I may,
Go ahead.
we also have a rate adjustment fact sheet from Eversource.
That's after the Select Board update on the agenda.
Way down there at the bottom.
Information.
Excuse me.
Okay, so the Select Board update. Mr. Tattlebaum, you have anything?
Not for now.
Mr. Mickelson?
Good, thanks.
Mr. O'Neill?
Set, Sean.
Mrs. Brooks?
Here I go. I just want to let everyone know that we are in tournament season for Dartmouth High School. The following teams have made tournament and have some upcoming games. So we do have some girls playing on the Bishop Stang hockey team. They have a game Thursday at 4:30 at Hetland Rink. Our boys hockey team will be traveling on Wednesday, the 26th, up to Norwood. I think that game's at 5. And on Thursday, the boys basketball team will be heading out to Burncoat High School, which is in Worcester, for a 6 o'clock game. And our Dartmouth girls team, which is ranked second in Division II, will be hosting the winner of a game tonight, but that's going to be 6 o'clock at home, the first of the tournament play. And just so that you're aware, Kat Cheesebro is close to getting her 2,000th
2,000.
basket. So we're hoping it happens,
Points.
2,000 points. So we're hoping that happens
Be
at
nice
one
in a
of
state
these
championship.
during the championship game. So best of luck to all of them.
Yes, definitely.
Also in the music venue, for those folks that like to know about the music, NESBA competition is this Saturday, which is March 1st, all day at Dartmouth High School. And next Saturday, March 8th, the WGI regional competition will be held at Dartmouth High School all day. So whatever your tastes are, we have something to offer through the high school. And the only other thing I want to add, based on tonight's decision to move forward with Gary, is that I'd like us to, rather than commence that, I'm not sure whether that commences immediately, but I'd like that to be on our March 10th Select Board meeting, our Executive Board to, we need to look at a change of contract, and we need to find out what is needed by Mr. Cadero.
I'll talk to Anthony tomorrow
Thank you.
regarding that. All right, so last we have, I have nothing. So last we have a Eversource rates fact sheet. I mean, let's put it this way, folks. We all know the utilities are just absolutely crazy, and many people are starting to see the delivery more than the actual supply. We'll have this fact sheet posted up on our website. It has to deal with gas. The electric is something entirely different. But I do know, as a matter of fact, which I don't quite understand the reasoning behind it. The state DPU has told the Eversource and probably National Grid and whatnot to reduce rates for January and February by 5%, but instead of just having it reduced, they just basically saying, taking that 5%, hold on to it, charge the customers come March or April with interest, which I don't quite understand because as a consumer, I have nothing, absolutely zero to say over that. And I have to pay interest on a decision that a state rates board decided to make. Let the state pay the interest. So I don't know, there's going to be some outfall on that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, and now, of course, with the tariffs coming from Canada, that throws, you know, all the electrical we get from Canada, which is mostly all the New England states and the Mid-Atlantic states. So that throws that into something. So this is not a good thing. But I do know that there is a Facebook group regarding a petition for Eversource and also for going to the state on their rates. I'm not exactly sure what the name of the group is, but I'm sure if you put down Eversource petition under Facebook, I'm sure you'll be able to get a hold of it and you can sign it. But also Senator Markey and, Senator Montigny and Representative Markey are fully aware of this, and I know they're also aware of the petition, so we'll see what happens there.
Mr. Chairman, one thing on that.
Yes, Mr. Carrero.
I track the rates daily as part of the aggregation for the town, and over the last month, we've seen the rate go up almost $5 a kilowatt hour, which is not only on the consumer side, but we're seeing that over on the budget side also. What the departments are presenting is, double-digit increases in percentages on all the gas and electric. So we're not sure whenever that's gonna stop. But
I mean, just to be, I know this isn't, and I know it's not much, but if you talk about percentages, I have a property that has 2 meters, only meters. 1 meter is actually in use. I used to pay somewhere, and I understand it's small potatoes, $30. It was just $30 because of the use. Right now, I'm paying $45 for the same exact use. And so you can see that, if you want to, I understand it's not a residential home. I understand it's not that. And I understand it's a lot different, but the percentage is the same as everybody else. So, I have properties where I have $2,000 in electric and gas costs. Same thing, I have properties in Rhode Island. My gas costs in Rhode Island alone on one property was $22,000. So it's everywhere. It's not just Eversource. It's Rhode Island Energy. It's National Grid. It's everywhere. So
I just have one comment.
Mr.
Maybe I'm a
Nicholson.
little confused. I think the governor got involved somehow, reducing these rates, and they came to 5%. I thought it was 10, but 5, 10, whatever it is. But they will lower the cost for the next few months, but they'll be tacking on additional costs during the summertime on the gas side when there's not a lot of gas being used by homes and businesses. But that's the way I read it.
Yeah, the governor's mandate was to reduce the cost of gas, but never talked about electric.
Right.
And the electric is where we're seeing the spike.
Right.
Because of AI and everything else that's happening, it's
Right, and when
increasing
is
the
our
cost of electric.
aggregate contract up?
Well, that's what
End of
we're
this year.
looking at now. So I've seen the rate spike over the last month.
We've got to look at
$5 per kilowatt hour.
Eversource's prices in our aggregate, not the big savings they were,
Greatest
unfortunately.
comment I saw is that they don't understand why the electrical and gas rates are so high, because everybody's starting to go solar, everybody's using electric cars and everything, so the use is not there. Why is it high? So, but if you take a look at your rate structure, you'll see a lot of state initiatives in there, which adds to the cost. It doesn't add to a lot of it, generally less than $10, but that's still part and parcel of the whole thing. So, with that,
A lot of chatter.
with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mickelson, seconded by Mrs. Brooks. On the motion, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none unanimous. Good night, everybody.